A lot of injuries happen on Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm going to give you the laundry list of guys. We'll touch on a few of these subjects here in regards to some injuries and some injury news on some players who were already dealing with some problems prior to Tuesday, just missing practice. So let's talk about some of the new injuries. The biggest one was Isaiah Likely dealing with an ankle injury, which turned out to be a fractured foot. That's going to keep him out for a few weeks. Malik Nabers dealing with shoulder injury. By all accounts, he's expected to be okay. Giants are off on Wednesday, so we don't have an updated report there. McConkey was not going to play in the Hall of Fame game on Thursday, but dealing with an undisclosed injury. Hopefully he'll be fine. Xavier Worthy is now in the concussion protocol, so something to keep an eye on there. And Marquise Brown dealing with an ankle injury. We don't know how long he's going to be out. Michael Pittman also dealing with the groin injury. But I want to go back to Isaiah Likely. So, Heath, I'll just come to you on this. Mark Andrews last year, his numbers were better, understandably so, and Likely missed time. How are you viewing Andrews now with the chance that Likely could miss the start of the season until he's fully recovered from this injury?
Yeah, I think that this probably means that Mark Andrews can justify his ADP now, as opposed to, I thought he was being a little bit overdrafted. I would expect at the beginning of the year, Andrews' role looks a little bit more like it did in 2023 and beyond. And some people may think, Andrews was still good last year. It was just that he scored so many touchdowns. The targets were terrible. So maybe you draft Mark Andrews where he's being drafted and then plan on trading him after a couple of weeks.
Yep, and who knows, when Likely comes back, he may need a couple of weeks to ramp up to get back to game speed. So just something to keep an eye on there. But this is a boost for Mark Andrews with Likely missing time, and you're probably going to take Likely off of your draft boards. A guy you were taking with a late round pick could be some value. Maybe look to add him in week one if he's going to be out maybe a couple of games to start the season. Dave, when you look at the Chiefs wide receivers, now you have Worthy in the concussion protocol. We don't know about Rashee Rice and when the potential suspension may happen, if it is going to happen, but that's what we anticipate. And now you have Marquise Brown dealing with this ankle injury. How are you approaching Chiefs wide receivers now? It's just waiting to see how the ADP will sort of settle, or are you still targeting these guys in the same spots?
I'm basically targeting them in the same spots, and I've been kind of bullish on Xavier Worthy. I think he's a wide receiver too, like a slam dunk as a wide receiver too. But you've got to keep tabs on how he does coming off the concussion. I expect it to be fine. We're more than a month out before the start of the season. I mean, he could still play in a preseason game, even if he sits out for 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm not worried about Worthy yet. And Rice, not too far behind Worthy in my rankings. Both of them actually top 24 guys. I would rather draft Worthy because I am expecting a suspension for Rashee Rice. But if that suspension never comes, I'm clearly making a mistake. I'll feel like a moron. Rashee Rice will go back to being like a top 15 fantasy wide receiver if we get a full season of him. Hollywood Brown isn't even on my radar at this point. These are the two guys that I want from the receiver room in Kansas City.
If this concussion lingers for Worthy, which we don't hope is going to be the case, and Rice does face some sort of lengthy suspension, Travis Kelce's fantasy value will certainly go a little bit higher. Right now, he's tight end 6 coming off the board on average draft position. Some other injuries that we're just keeping an eye on at this point. Kevin O'Connell says that Justin Jefferson's hamstring injury, zero worry about week 1, so that's a great sign for him. DeVonta Smith has missed 2 straight practices, Monday and Tuesday. I don't think they're practicing on Wednesday, but something to keep an eye on there, just dealing with a little back injury. Jauan Jennings continues to miss practice with a calf injury, something to monitor there. Najee Harris, still no timetable for his eye injury, and MarShawn Lloyd dealing with a groin injury. So some long-term injuries that we're keeping an eye on. Jefferson clearly the most important one, but does sound like he will be ready for week 1, so you can draft him comfortably in the first 6 overall picks. All right,